Okay, now a lot of parents want to know, okay, I understand what we are supposed to do about introducing allergenic foods, but what should we do if my baby has an allergic reaction or one that we're not sure of? And what should we have on hand in case that happens? Do we need to have an EpiPen? Like, what do I do? So, first and foremost, I just want to talk through what exactly allergic reactions versus non allergic rashes and those sorts of things look like when it comes to starting solid foods. Non-allergic things would be like a rash just around the mouth after exposure to a food, especially if it's an acidic food, like strawberries is a classic example, or other berries where they're more acidic, and or tomato-based things, which is also a fruit. Those will cause a local reaction often, especially in kids with sensitive skin. So oftentimes we see that where just around the mouth or kind of just where the food would drop, like onto their chest or those sort of areas, they'll get a little bit red. That is not an allergy. Vomiting a couple hours later is not an allergy. A rash that takes several days to show up is not an allergy. What we know that allergies look like is when we're talking about the classic type 2 hypersensitivity reaction, which is what we're looking for when it comes to allergens, it is quick and impressive. And so what that looks like is we give our baby peanut or egg or dairy and they're allergic to it. What are we going to actually see? What we're going to see is typically a diffuse rash, not just at the ingestion site, but usually it's more distant. Around the body, you'll see hives, they'll be itchy, those sorts of things. That would be like a typical rash that you might see. You also often see swelling, so swelling in the mouth, swelling around the lips. Those would be examples of more allergy type reactions that you'd see. And we're talking within minutes to a half an hour of ingestion. We're not talking about hours later or days later where we're having these rashes and attributing it to something that we had, 3 or 4 days ago. That's just not how the allergy type reactions that we're talking about and trying to avoid work. Other things that you might see is profuse vomiting shortly after allergen introduction, or difficulty breathing, or airway swelling where their tongue or something like that is swelling up. And so those would be the more scary sort of things that you would see. We don't see like a stuffy nose a day or two later from food allergies. We don't see a rash that occurs several days later from food allergies. That's just not the typical thing that we're looking for when it comes to food allergies. And so if you're not sure, ask your doctor. Your doctor can take a history, do a physical exam when indicated, refer you to a specialist if need be, which usually it's not needed unless we need to do more testing or skin prick testing. I will usually send people to an allergist if it seems like, okay, they had an offending food, they had a quick reaction to it, and parents probably didn't make too much of it. They did it again and had the exact same reaction. Well, then we probably need some skin prick testing to assure ourselves that it's safe or figure out what to do. Most allergies that children have, most food allergies, they will grow out of with time, which is great. We know that's the case. Peanut and egg are the two that can persist the longest typically, sometimes tree nut as well. And so it just takes time in working through those things. So if you're not sure, just ask your doctor. They can help you to clarify and talk through the specific timing and the specific food and all of those sorts of things to figure out what to do next and how to move forward. Now, what should you have on hand when you start introducing foods so that you're ready in case something comes up? I actually don't think you need anything on hand. The good thing about food allergy introduction is it is very safe to do on a regular basis with nothing prepared. You don't have to have an EpiPen. You don't have to have Benadryl on hand. You don't have to have airway supplies or oxygen or anything like that. I'm being a little bit facetious there, but it's very safe to introduce foods to your baby and not worry about food allergies whatsoever. Now, I know that you're saying to yourself, okay, that's fine for the average bear, but I'm a little bit worried, and everything that goes wrong typically goes wrong for us. So what should I have on hand just in case, Guy? And so my suggestion to you would be to have an antihistamine available. I actually like using second generation antihistamines for everything. I think you can live without Benadryl. We have no Benadryl at our house. We never have. It just is sedating, and it makes kids go crazy. They're either super sleepy or just wired for sound. And so I avoid having Benadryl at our house. It's also one where if they get into it somehow and you've put it on the top shelf and they climb up there and get into it or, something, then there's a lot more issues with it. Instead, second generation antihistamines are safe and effective in the acute setting for allergic reactions, meaning the one that I like is cetirizine. The brand name of that in the US is Zyrtec. The cetirizine is over the counter. It's generic generic, it's cheap, and the dosing is right on there, and its dose is down to 6 months of age, which is perfect for babies. So if you want to have something on hand so that, okay, it looks like they're having an allergy reaction and I want to give them some antihistamine because they're itchy, their mouth is swelling, anything like that, then that would be what I would reach for. Now, if you're worried about your baby's airway on that note, if their lips are swelling, if their tongue is swelling or something like that, that's just a 911 call or whatever your local emergency number is, because the airway is what we want to obviously protect and keep open. And so if they're swelling or things like that, that would be the time that I would be calling 911 so that you can get extra help. They can come, they can assess things, they can give your baby epinephrine in the field if need be. Super rare, maybe once every 2 years, I have a parent that has to call 911 for a food allergy related thing. It is very uncommon, and so I wouldn't worry about it on a regular basis. You don't need to be prepared for that. If you want to be extra prepared, just have some cetirizine, cetirizine, on hand, and then look on the box. It will tell you the dosing for it, and that is all that you need to have on hand when you're going to introduce allergenic foods, because the vast majority of babies will have no issue with it whatsoever. And those that do have an issue with it, it is mild. You can say, oh, that came right after the food. I wonder if that's the case. I should talk to my doctor. Then you can do that and figure out where to go from there. It is just, I know that parents worry about it. I know that everyone is concerned that their baby is going to be the one, but by and large, it is very safe to introduce allergenic foods to babies that don't have severe eczema without anything on hand, without any worry whatsoever. Oftentimes what we do is if it comes up and it doesn't really sound like it, then I'll just have parents bring in the offending agent into the office. And if we've done some testing to confirm that they don't have antibodies in their blood, or we've sent them to the allergy doctor to do skin prick testing, then we'll just test the food in the office and do it under a controlled environment where we know it's safe and can go from there. But by and large, it is not the issue that parents make it out to be. So if you want to do anything, just have some cetirizine on hand and then move forward with trying all those foods and trying not to worry. Hope this was helpful. Keep up the good work.